All right. So I've been live streaming about WordPress and AI tools and developing with AI and WordPress and various other things. And more specifically, WordPress MCP and the feature API and how they all fit together for the last couple of weeks. And a bunch of people in my team have kind of wanted to know or have a short, and a couple of people in my team have kind of asked me for a short TLDR of how this all works and how this all fits together. So I thought it might be useful to take a plugin that I maintain, one that I adopted a while ago, and show you how you could register a feature to then be adapted into a tool to then be able to use it inside of an AI agent like Cursor. Um, so let's take a look. Okay, so this is my local WordPress site. I am using Studio to manage it. And then I have a plugin installed. This is one that I adopted a while back and managed, called List All URLs. Now, what this plugin is it presents you a list of custom post types, and then you can fetch, let's go, for example, pages. You can fetch a list of the URLs for those post types. You can also make them clickable if you wish. And you can use this for, I don't know, SEO purposes or social media purposes or whatever the case may be. Let's have a look at the code. So the code itself is fairly straightforward. It renders a menu. It renders an admin menu. It renders an admin menu page. The page has some HTML. And then if the radio button is selected, it will the post type that was selected, set up a bunch of arguments, generate a URL list, and then render the list of links. The URL list function essentially just sets up a WP query object, calls the query, loops through the query, and returns the links as required. Okay, let's hop on over back to WordPress. So the other two plugins that I have installed are the Feature API plugin and the WordPress MCP plugin. The Feature API plugin allows me to register the feature. So we'll start with that. So that plugin is just installed and activated. The other thing that I have done is I have disabled the demo because I don't need the demo code running. I just need the feature API functionality. So in my plugin, what I can do is I can register a feature. In this case, I've given it a specific ID, given it a name, a description. What type of feature is it? Is it a get feature? Is it a post feature? There's various different resource options. Importantly, a callback function, and then I've specified an output schema and an input schema. The output schema is what it defines what kind of data the feature will output, and the input is what kind of data the feature will expect to receive. Then the callback function, there is context that can get sent to the feature. I'll show you how that gets sent in a second. So I'm using that context to get post type and a limit, and I'm passing those to the generate URL list function so that it can set up the query and do all the same functionality it's doing and return the URLs. So that's all I need to register the feature. There is currently no easy way to check whether the feature has been registered, but there is a REST API endpoint that you can query, WP v2 features, and there you'll see my get URLs feature is registered, and that is the ID. Now, once the feature is registered, I can't use it with LLMs and AI tools yet. It's available to use, but I need to convert it into some kind of protocol that the tools can use. And currently, that protocol is Model Context Protocol. It is a recently released protocol that is designed to standardize how applications provide context to LLMs. So to get this working, I need to install the WordPress MCP plugin. So with that plugin installed and active, if I go over to the MCP settings and I make sure that the MCP functionality is enabled and the feature adapter is enabled, the MCP plugin will take any features that I have registered and convert them into tools. Now, the plugin registers a bunch of tools itself, which we'll ignore for now, but right at the bottom of the list there you can see WP feature get URLs, which retrieves all the URLs from the selected post type. So my feature has been registered in my plugin. The MCP feature adapter has converted that to a tool. I can now configure my AI tool, my AI agent, to connect to my MCP server, in this case my WordPress site, and use the tools available. So here I have cursor open, and I have an mcp.json file sitting inside of the .cursor directory of my project. However your tool registers MCP servers will determine where this file sits. But this is how I registered my site, my local site, as an MCP server that my tool can use. And this uses a package called MCP WordPress Remote. So MCP WordPress Remote is a Node.js package, or an NPM package, should I say, that is a proxy between, or it acts as a bridge between MCP clients and MCP servers. So if you have the MCP plugin installed on your WordPress site, it can be an MCP server. And then if you're configuring it in the client, you use this package to enable the bridging. And you'll see that instructions with the MCP server details are in the README. So with those things in place, what I can now do is I can make a request of my site. So I can say, fetch post URLs from my WordPress site, limit to 20. And what this does is, because of how I've set up the feature and the tool, it determines that that is the tool to use, the WP feature get URLs tool. It knows to send it the post type in the input and limit in the input because I set up the input schema, and it knows to expect an object of URLs as the JSON response. And this is all because I've configured this on the site in the feature when I registered it. The LLM can then infer what I need to, taking the prompt, so taking post, taking URLs, and the limit, and turn that into a request to the MCP tool. So hopefully that demo gave you a quick idea of how this all works and how this works. The way I see it in my head is, think about MCP as like the REST API for LLMs. And the features is the way you expose your plugin or your theme or core functionality to MCP. The reason that they're being developed separately is that, as someone explained to me, currently Model Context Protocol is the default way that you can provide context to LLMs, but that could change, or new protocols could be developed. And so if you have the API in one place and the MCP plugin somewhere else, then when MCP is replaced or improved or changes, you can just replace WordPress MCP with whatever the new protocol is to do things. My understanding as well is that the feature API is something that's going to be proposed to merge into Core. And if that happens, that means that Core can register features. So anything that exists in Core can be registered as a feature. Plugins can then register features. Themes can register features. And so the way your users and your customers interact with your plugins, with your themes, with Core itself, can all be managed from any one of these AI tools, like Claude Desktop, like VS Code with Copilot, like Cursor, whatever the case may be. So if you are a plugin developer or a theme developer, I recommend checking these things out, set it up for yourself. If you want to run the demo that I shared with you now, you can download my plugin. I'm going to have the feature installed and active by the time this video comes out. So you can download it from WordPress.org. You can install it on your site. You can configure your Cursor environment with the MCP server setup if you install the plugins, and you can see it working for yourself. But do check it out. Do get on the forefront of this, because this is kind of, I think, here to stay, and it's the way we're going to interact with things in the future. So it'd be great to expose this functionality to your plugins, to your themes, and understand the basics of how it works.